Well, hello everybody out there in YouTube land. How's everybody doing? Marc Emery gets out of jail. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video because we got a few clips to run through, and we're going to start out with Marc Emery's release, and then we're going to go to his wife Jody in remarks to prior to when he was arrested, and so on. So we got lots to go through. So let's get on to that. Marc's just getting out of jail now.
Marc Emery, known as the Prince of Pot, was released on bail this afternoon. He was one of 10 people arrested Friday evening after police raided his newly opened cannabis culture chain store in Montreal. Emery was released on several conditions, most notably a $5,000 bail. He will have to reside at his Toronto area home and is not allowed to contact the other 9 people who were arrested, including his wife Jody. Bail was set at the Montreal court, where Emery appeared via video call from his detention center.
I believe our cause is just. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to going to court. And if they're foolish enough to sentence me to jail, then that's fine for me. But we will challenge this and the constitutionality of these laws. They're completely illegitimate. They have always been illegitimate, but now I think the citizens of Canada are fully aware that they are illegitimate, and the politicians are scrambling to try and make changes, but the changes are too slow.
The Prince of Pot, Marc Emery, I was there at the opening yesterday, and they gave out free samples, which in and of itself is illegal in the criminal code. But they did say that they were thinking of opening a pot shop in your riding. Would you be? How would you feel about that, number one? And do you also agree with their equivalency that you're just as much of a criminal as they would be if they were arrested for something like this?
The fact is, the law is very clear, and until we've changed the law, the current laws exist and apply. The reason we are legalizing and controlling marijuana is not for any other reason than to better protect our kids and to remove the black market, the criminal elements, the organized crime from profiting massively from the sale of cannabis. Those are the 2 reasons we are doing this. And we will get this done properly and responsibly because that's what Canadians expect us to do. And until we have changed the law, the current laws apply.
So he was asked a question. How would he feel about a cannabis shop opening up in his riding? Well, he totally evaded that question and went right to the fact that, oh, the law is the law. From a crook. Okay, so let's go to see what Marc Emery's wife has to say.
And so, there's always room for number 9.
After 20 years of marijuana activism and with 12 other stores, co-owner Marc Emery has been arrested 28 times.
It is our responsibility to keep using peaceful civil disobedience to demonstrate why the law is unjust. And this is what legalization looks like.
But it doesn't look like this quite yet. The federal government will only propose legislation legalizing marijuana next spring. In the meantime, the cannabis culture stores are illegal.
It's a complete abomination. Anybody who enforces this outdated, this despicable law is indeed a despicable person.
The pair is defiant, but practical. After the strong critique, Jody Emery also makes a plea to police.
And I beg the Montreal police, let us be in peace. Please do not cause harm to the harmless people who are choosing to work here and push forward this very important issue.
Montreal police say the law is clear and they are there to enforce it.
Well, I can tell you we are investigating. We've been investigating since this morning.
And we all know how that investigation turned out. Marc Emery got arrested and charges laid and so forth. Now, okay, so let's go to see what the one of the Mr. Bill Blare has to say about all of this.
Marijuana does become legal, and it will eventually. Will you go to your holiday party with, I don't know, a nice bottle of wine, box of chocolates, and a bag of cannabis for your host, maybe some pot brownies that you made? Well, that's the new world we're about to enter into after the Marijuana Task Force set out a 106-page report for legalizing marijuana. There are some 80 recommendations, and they include a minimum age of consumption of 18, selling marijuana in separate stores, allowing people to grow their own plants, up to 4 plants, even having mail order marijuana, taxing marijuana with higher THC levels. That's the chemical that makes you high at a higher level. But the next step is also crucial. Do we need a way to test people for intoxication while driving? And if it's going to be legal in the next few years, why not decriminalize it right now? To answer more of those questions is the Liberal MP and the former Toronto police chief, who is the Liberals' pot point person, Bill Blare. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Evan. Good to be here.
Well, the task force has all these recommendations, and the NDP say, well, if you're going to legalize, why not decriminalize it right now?
Well, you know what gets so often left out of this discussion is we've talked about legalization and regulation, restricting access that children have to it and taking organized crime out of it. That regulatory framework that the task force report speaks to is a critically important part in making sure that we do a better job of protecting our kids, protecting our communities, and protecting the health of Canadians. Decriminalization doesn't achieve any of those things. It's a half measure that will actually make it very difficult for us to put in a properly functioning, comprehensive regulatory system that will achieve the public purpose aims we're setting out to do.
But is it fair to give people a criminal record in the next 12 or 18 months for doing something that the Prime Minister has admitted he's done?
Well, I'll tell you the problem, Evan, is marijuana is not a benign substance. It does require strict regulation. And until that's in place, the only system of control we have is the current laws. If people don't want to get a criminal record, I urge them to obey the law. But our laws should be obeyed and they should be enforced.
All right, some people, and I appreciate what you're saying technically, some people think those laws are now lame duck. Should the police keep cracking down on, say, pot shops that are opening up everywhere, mail order marijuana that's opening up, people that are smoking now more openly? Should the police crack down on those people?
Well, I'll tell you, at one time when I was the police chief, I would have been responsible for making that decision, but quite frankly, in my current role, I would leave it to the police chiefs right across the country to make decisions about the deployment of their resources and the utilization of their priorities in order to keep their communities safe. But I would remind them as well that the laws that are currently in place are important for helping protect Canadians, and those laws should be obeyed and they should be enforced.
All right, when can we expect all this to happen? People saw the task force. They saw these recommendations. How quickly are you going to move in the government on actually legalizing marijuana?
Well, I think one of the things the report really lays out well for us is the complexity of the challenges that we face. Now, the government has made a commitment. Our health minister has said she'll bring forward new legislation in the spring of 2017. So in the next several months, that regulations will come forward.
Do you have a good test for intoxication if someone's high and driving? Do police actually have a good test to find out if someone's smoked a lot of dope and then they go taking their car out for a drive, like a drinking and driving test?
Well, right now we have a per se limit, and there are tools available to the police for the enforcement of alcohol. With drugs, which includes marijuana, some of the legislation clearly needs to be updated. We have to make sure that the police have the tools and the training they need and the resources they're going to require in order to keep our roadways safe.
Before I let you go, if marijuana becomes legal, will Bill Blare smoke marijuana? Will Bill Blare eat a marijuana brownie, a pot brownie?
Actually, no, Evan. And I've been a police officer for 40 years. I worked in narcotics for quite a number of years. I've never used an illegal drug, and I don't have any intention. But it will be legal. But that's what I'm saying. Once it's legal, if someone goes to your holiday party and they say, "Hey, Bill, I brought you a pot brownie," what do you say? Evan, I've been compelled, as a result of the responsibility the Prime Minister has given me, to look pretty hard at this drug. I recognize that there are risks and even significant risks associated to its use. I'm not prepared to accept those risks, so I won't be using that drug.
All right, interesting. Bill Blare, I appreciate your time. You have a good holiday, sir.
Merry Christmas, Evan.
Merry Christmas.
So there you have it, Mr. Blare there at the end there. Oh, no. I've been a law officer for 40 years. I can't be involved in that shit. No way. No, sir. Hello, princess. So, that's why Marc Emery, I believe, okay, don't quote me, but that's why I believe Marc Emery did what he did in defiance, because Here we go again, guys. The Canadian government is going to screw with the weed movement. And so, maybe I thought I'd pass on a little information here because, you know, I do smoke a joint there, Mr. Blair. And first of all, you guys' narrative about marijuana being also deadly dangerous, etc., etc. Let me remind you about, you know, just cut into your bullshit a little bit. I have to have a hoot here. Anyway, let me remind you, okay, that marijuana has been around for a very, very, very long time, okay? And people have already been smoking it for a very long time, regardless of your long-ass fucking law being out there telling us not to smoke it. But all this time, Mr. Blair and Mr. Trudeau, we have been smoking it. In fact, Mr. Trudeau even smoked a friggin' joint and won't fucking fess up to the fact, you know, that marijuana isn't like alcohol. Marijuana shouldn't even be compared with alcohol, for Christ's sake, because it's not an impairment. That may be the other question in here, is their cash cow may not be ready for the road yet. Maybe that's what's holding up all these laws about marijuana, so that the police forces in Canada can catch up with how to detect THC in the saliva of a person that's driving a vehicle. And there is your cash cow, because the minute they suspect THC, not that the person's impaired, but that there is THC in the system, THC remains in the system for a while after you smoke it, okay? It does not, like, you know, and it doesn't affect you like alcohol. It's so how can you call it an impairment, and how can you even throw it out there that it's such and such a thing without a proper evaluation study? And studies that have been done in the States, according to Highway Traffic Board, have not been pointing in the direction that Mr. Blair and others would have you believe that this is a big problem. No, it's only a problem now because they want to come out and cheat everybody with thinking it's going to be a legalization when it's not. It's going to be a regulated. That's not decriminalization. So in other words, if you want to talk or point fingers to who is committing the crime, it is the Canadian government, because they are throwing people into jails and courts and ruining their lives over a plant that we have been asking you to legalize. And we have been doing it in a peaceful demonstration for years now. It hasn't been for the last couple of years. Okay? This protest of having marijuana legalized has been going on for, you know, dog's age, okay? And it's only starting to come to light, you know, now that California got legalized and other states in the United States got legalized, that, you know, the cat is starting to come out of the bag here. And Jesus, the government wants to get its cash cow fingers all over this. Well, you guys can all go ahead and keep trying to figure it all out there and keep causing people to go into your jails, or into our jails, costing us big dollars. But people are catching on to your bullshit there, Mr. Trudeau. And Mr. Blair, and that witch in Edmonton there that thinks she's doing things for the public there, Rachel, whatever her friggin' name is, and your globalist invitation by entering global warming tax on all of Canadians, my friends, I encourage you to get with the channel, because we have got to figure out a way to stop this bullshit government. And I thank you for your time, and do keep in touch and subscribe and all that jazz, and just getting the word out. Have a good day.